All right, we have a lot to talk about in this one. And this isn't really the time of year where a lot of stuff happens, but as far as signings go, as far as re signings go, but sometimes things happen when teams feel like, hey, we have good stuff in place and we just want to continue bringing what our and making our team better for what we already have. So the Seattle Seahawks did exactly that. And let me just say this in this video, we're going to talk about who they signed. We're going to talk about why it was a good signing for the Seahawks. Okay. And then we are going to talk about what this kind of looks like and what to expect from it. But before we do that, if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. We love football. We love talking about teams that are in the smaller media markets. That's what you're going to get here. No LA teams, no New York teams, no Cowboys, nothing like that. So if that's something you like and you love football, please hang and hit a subscribe button. If you're a Seahawks fan, definitely do that. We have a lot of Hawks content. So anyways, without further ado, the Seattle Seahawks signed Uchenna Nwosu to a 3-year contract extension worth up to $59 million. The guaranteed money on this is $32 million, meaning that he will be making roughly $10 million a year guaranteed. I don't know what the salary cap breakdown looks like for each year of this contract. Those have not come out yet. I don't know if it is backloaded. I don't know if it is front loaded. I don't know any of that stuff. And usually when there's a signing, I like to get on here and I really like to talk about what this means for your salary cap and what it's going to look like for it and how it's going to affect you. So all I know is that it's worth almost $20 million, up to $20 million annually for 3 years. His contract was going to be up at the end of this year, the 2023 season, and now he is going to do more. This is reported by Adam Schefter. This is absolutely real. So a little background on the guy you're re-signing. And by the way, can I just side note this for a second? His agent is Drew Rosenhaus and Ryan Matha, but Drew Rosenhaus. So the fact that they got it done is a good deal, and you'd expect him to be paid because that's what happens with Drew Rosenhaus players. But Drew Rosenhaus also doesn't just hitch his wagon to anybody. So it talks about, and that shows some of the quality that you are going to have with Uchenna Nwosu. Last year, after his first 4 years in the league were spent with the Chargers, last year was flat out his breakout year. He was fantastic, and he played like a guy that is absolutely worthy of $20 million. And I know what you're thinking. $20 million for a guy who had 9.5 sacks, but he never had previously more than 5. Doesn't that seem like a lot? I'm going to tell you why. It's not. It's not a lot of money. This is the kind of guy that you need to keep around. And I'm going to talk to you exactly about why that is. So let's dive into the numbers a little bit. Last year, he had a 950 total snaps. He was on the field all the time for the Seahawks. He was there a ton. All right. In previous years, his previous high was 781, which was last year. All right, or 2021. And 2020 through 2018, he never saw more than 362 snaps. So here's a guy who is 26 years old. He does not have a lot of tread on the tires. He is coming into his prime as an athlete. Those mid to late 20s is going to be your prime. So you have him signed through about year 30 season. Okay, so you have this guy, you're re-signing him in his prime, and he's coming off statistically, tape, any way you want to break it down, dude's coming off his best year. He is coming off a year where he went with 9.5 sacks, 26 QB hits, 12 tackles for loss. He was so disruptive in the run game, 3 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, and 4 passes deflected or defense. This is a guy who was all around the board good, and his PFF, you know I love talking PFF, whether you like it or not, his PFF numbers were across the board solid. The only area where sometimes it's not great is his tackling numbers. And I think some of that is that his athleticism and his nose for the football brings him to the ball so quickly and so violently that sometimes he just over pursues it and his tackling numbers are rough. But for the most part, he has good games. He just had a few bad game stretch. I think you can say Arizona, Tampa Bay, and Las Vegas against the Raiders last year. And maybe if you want to throw in the game against Detroit, yeah, you see the line back there. Those were not great tackling games. Okay, but here's what his numbers were last year. Here's what his numbers were last year as far as PFF grades. His overall defensive grade is a 73. His run defense is a 74, despite the poor tackling grade. His pass rush was a 72, and his coverage was a 65. So that's the highest pass rush grade of his career. That's the highest run defense grade of his career. And by far the lowest, or no, second lowest, but by far those 2 years away were the lowest as far as pass coverage goes. His first 3 years in the league, his pass coverage grade was a 76, an 80, and an 85.5. This is a guy who can do whatever you ask him to do. He can do whatever you ask him to do. If you want him to play outside linebacker and play the run, great. If you want him to set the edge on the run, great. If you want him to drop back into coverage, great. If you want him to rush the passer, great. Like, here's what is so important. We talk about this on the other side of the ball. We don't talk about this enough on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, you talk about a running back who's multiple. That's all the craze in the NFL right now, isn't it? Is multiple running backs who can do everything. You can block. You can run up between the tackles. You can run outside. You can catch out of the backfield. You got to be able to do it all as a modern NFL day running back if you want to stick around as a modern NFL running back. Well, guess what? Linebacker, same thing gives. Same thing gives. And when you have a guy who can rush the passer just as well as he can drop into coverage, just as well as he can defend the run, you have a Swiss Army knife on defense. And Clint Hurt, the defensive coordinator, will be able to utilize him. And coming in from his defensive line coach position, he needs a guy that he can put anywhere at any time that is not going to give away what's happening. You put Nwosu on the edge, you have no idea what he's going to do. You stand him up on the edge, you really don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to drop into coverage? Maybe. Is he going to rush the passer? Maybe. Is he going to set the edge on, when you run an RPO? Maybe. Or an option, I guess I should say. Yeah. And that's what's so nice about this guy. And that is why Seattle's paying him. If you put his hand in the dirt and he rushed the passer every single time, sure, he could be a 15-sack guy. Maybe more. I don't know. I think he could do it. And you'd be considered a great edge rusher. If you stood him up and put him on the edge, he would be considered a great run defender. If you just constantly dropped him in coverage, he would be considered a good pass defender. That is what you are getting in Seattle. This is why you should be excited. You've seen him for a year. So I think many, many people are going to be like, yup, this is the guy. And I know Seattle fans, you want to see him rushing the passer more because he was there on a defense that was okay last year. Re-signing the best player, arguably, on that defense was priority number one and getting him extended, and you took care of that. Congratulations. You've got just a bookend on your defense, and you got him, honestly, at a pretty good price. All right, we'll talk to you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment,